I've got to go down to Virginia this week for some client meetings, some work meetings, and so I decided I would fly myself down instead of flying commercial. And this will be my first time crossing the border in my own plane, and I'm pretty excited about it and kind of nervous. And I've spent a ton of time doing the research and trying to figure out what all the different steps are. So come along with me as we fly down to Virginia and back. It took quite a while to do enough research to feel comfortable with what needed to be done for the cross-border flight. It helped that there are good resources available on the web, and that I was able to talk to a couple of fellow pilots who've done it from both sides of the border. It started with submitting a couple of applications a few weeks before the flight. The first to get ATC approval from DTOPS in the US and get the sticker that has to go on the plane, and the second to file for a CAN Pass approval, which expedites the border crossing back into Canada. I'll put the links to these websites in the description, in case it's helpful. Next, I started to plan my route down to Virginia. Initially, I was thinking I'd fly into Leesburg, since my meetings are right there. Leesburg Executive Airport is inside the DC CIFRA, though, so I had to go through the training and get the certificate to show that I'm allowed to fly in the CIFRA there. But, of course, being Canadian, I'm not required to have an ADS-B out transponder, which means I couldn't actually fly into the CIFRA, so that whole process was for naught. I settled on flying into Winchester, which is about a 45-minute drive from Leesburg and outside the CIFRA. From there, it was just a matter of plotting the best route down. A day before the flight, there were a few things I needed to do. First, get a COVID test. Then I had to file for the ADS-B deviation. And finally, I had to file my E-APIS record. Then, on the day of the flight, I called up Customs and Border Patrol in Buffalo to give them an estimate of my arrival time and prepped for my flight. Sadly, this weather does not want to cooperate. It was supposed to be nice and clear, sky clear, calm winds. Calm winds came true. Unfortunately, they mean that the mist does not want to dissipate. And so I'm sitting here on the apron at Oshawa, waiting for this mist to go away so that I can take off for my VFR flight down to Buffalo and then on to Winchester from there. But hopefully it won't be too much longer. Alright, ready to go here. It's cleared up enough. I've asked for a special VFR departure. Looks like it's pretty localized, a lot of blue skies here, so just need to climb up probably through a little bit of mist. Should be nice and clear. Oshawa ground, Golf Charlie Foxtrot Whiskey on the main apron, ready to taxi.
Charlie Foxtrot Whiskey, Grand, continue with the same taxi clearance, Alpha Bravo, cross runway 23, contact tower holding short, special VFR will be approved, and altimeter is 3014.
3014, Alpha Bravo, cross runway 23, contact tower holding short, Charlie Foxtrot Whiskey.
Charlie Foxtrot Whiskey Tower, does look like things are clearing up a little bit more to the southwest. It's still hazy out there, but you should have pretty good visibility en route to Toronto.
Alright, thank you. Yeah, it's not too bad up here. I'm at 900 or 700 above now, and it seems to be clearing up.
Roger.
Hamilton Harbor. Hamilton is basically Canada's Pittsburgh. The steel town. But you've done a fantastic job rejuvenating it. Can't quite tell from this view, but lots of parks, lots of trails. It actually sits up on the giant promontory overlooking the harbor, so there's beautiful views from there. Alright, about to cross the border into the US. First time I'm crossing the border. Exciting. And there we go. I'm across the border into the U.S.
Charlie Golf, Charlie Foxtrot, Whiskey, enter right down 1, runway 23, contact Buffalo Tower 120.5.
Right down runway 23, contact tower 120.5. Charlie Foxtrot, Whiskey.
Charlie Golf, Charlie Fox, Whiskey, you're going to attack here, correct?
Affirmative.
Charlie Golf, Charlie Fox, Whiskey, let's see. Continue Alpha, cross 14, turn right on Delta, hold short of runway 23.
Continue Alpha, cross 14, right on Delta, hold short 23. I taxied over to TAC Air, which is right next to the Customs and Border Patrol office, called in, and waited for an agent to come out to meet me. They don't like it when you record encounters with them, so I turned off my cameras before making the call. This being my first time crossing the border like this, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but it went really smoothly. The agent was friendly and quick. She took a look at my pilot's license, my medical, my passport, asked a couple of questions, and then cleared me on my way. Then after a brief stop at the FBO to settle up for the landing fee, I was back in the plane and taking off for the longer flight to Virginia. I followed a fairly direct route from Buffalo to Winchester, which had me fly over western New York, Pennsylvania, a bit of West Virginia, and then down into Virginia. It's mostly hill country. They're nothing like the mountains out west, but they're the tallest things I've flown over so far, so I was careful about giving the bigger hills lots of clearance. As I got closer to Winchester, there was a stretch where I went down this beautiful valley and had to cross over a ridge right before approaching the airport. In retrospect, it was no big deal, but I had to think carefully about how best to leave myself enough time for the descent without getting too low crossing the ridge. Alright, getting close to Winchester here. Kind of way between these valleys a little bit, or way through the valleys, just to avoid going over some of the hills as I'm coming in towards Winchester. These hills are about 2,200 feet, Winchester's about 700 feet. I do have time to descend as I get closer, but I'd prefer not to have to do a rapid descent over the last few miles, so there are some valleys I can go through, get down to at least 3,000 feet. So I only have 2,300 feet to lose. 1,300 for pattern. That won't be bad at all. Winchester traffic, Golf Charlie Foxtrot Whiskey turning final, runway 32, full stop. After 3 days of meeting my colleagues for the first time, despite 8 months having worked together, it was time to head home. I'd parked next to some cool little training planes I'd never seen before. Tecnam P-2006Ts, I believe. Given the paint scheme, I assumed they belonged to the Air National Guard or some other military force. Planning the trip home was pretty similar to the trip down, but in reverse and going through Canada's COVID testing precautions. The big variable was going to be the weather. The cloud bases as I would get closer to Toronto were kind of low, and the winds were forecast to pick up quite a bit with the possibility of some rain. But luckily it seemed like there was a window that looked okay.
Winchester traffic, Golf Charlie Foxtrot Whiskey is holding short runway 32.
Yeah, Winchester traffic, Sirius. 1 Tango Mike is just turning final. We'll be touch and go runway 32, Winchester.
Alright, we're ready to go. Filed the information with Canada Customs and Border, just waiting for this Cirrus to land. Winchester traffic, Golf Charlie Foxtrot Whiskey is lining up runway 32. Alright, temps and pressures are good, manifold pressure, RPM is good, airspeed's coming alive. And rotate. Alright, let's just review the things I had to do before heading back to Canada. First thing I had to do was get my COVID test. Canada only accepts PCR tests, so I had to get that done on Wednesday. Crossed my fingers that it would be ready on time, but thankfully it was. Then I filed my EAPIS.
You know ATC's using this freak, dude. Why don't you grow up? Shut up.
And center for port 719.
For the next hour, I was quiet as a mouse, just in case there was a problem with my radio. I did occasionally do a radio check without keying the mic to see if anybody responded.
Somebody do a radio check for me?
Nobody ever did, so I'm pretty sure it wasn't me he was talking to.
Again, ATC is using this frequency. Please stop.
I know there have been incidents of idiots meowing on the radio, so I can only guess it was somebody doing something stupid like that and the other guy was telling them to shut up. And it just happened to be right as I was talking. But still, I barely said a thing until I was approaching Lake Erie and crossing back into Canada over an hour later.
Alright, we're coming up to Lake Erie here. Gonna have to cut across the lake a little bit so I can avoid the Buffalo airspace. I wasn't able to get an ATSB deviation, so not allowed to enter the Class C zone there. So I'm going to go straight across the lake. So put on my PFD since I'll be further than gliding distance from land.
As I was approaching Toronto, I saw a big cloud hanging right over the downtown area and what looked like rain pouring down from it. It forced me to go back out over the lake to avoid it, and I ended up getting a pretty cool view of the rain shower as I passed downtown.
I don't know if that'll show up on the camera, but certainly very cool to see. Just bands of rain coming down from the clouds. But I didn't try to mess with that. Oh, there's the rain now. I am. Still very good visibility, so that's alright. Should give the windshield a nice little wash. Get some of the bugs off.
By the time I got to Oshawa though, the weather had cleared up again and it was a beautiful day. Perfect for my landing back home to clear customs and end my first cross-border flight, and my longest flight yet. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and please do subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time, and in the meantime, fly safe.